will switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening and welcome to pjnet.tv. This special recorded edition is being brought to you because I am presumably in Atlanta, Georgia, videoing an event there, which we'll hear more about when I get back, I presume. Glad to see any of you that are watching this on maybe YouTube or maybe Facebook, and we're so glad you've joined us. By the way, the same program can be watched in our live chat room at pjnet.tv, and you can enjoy the fellowship of the wonderful people, our PJNet family that hangs out there. Now, folks, this is kind of a redo, take two. We had scheduled our guest earlier, but there were some problems that were actually out there on the internet. Had nothing to do with us or YouTube, but nonetheless, we have rescheduled and we're recording this now. And with us, all the way from where she lives, wherever that is, in an undisclosed location, is Angela Georgantas.
There.
Did I pronounce Angela correctly?
Yes, you sure did. And Georgantas too.
Okay, well, the first part is easy. Yeah. And Angela, this is kind of your first appearance on PJNet TV. It's my understanding, if I recall, that you found out about this from a good friend of yours, Rachel Colby.
Yes, she is a friend of mine. I met her on Twitter. And she blogs, and she's the one who actually got me into blogging.
Well, speaking of blogging, folks, one of the things I look for when we're kind of, I don't like to, vetting, for lack of better word, vetting guests. The thing I always look for is I go to their blog and I try to look at the dates of the publication of the blog, and I don't use the word regular, I use the word predictable. And I commend you, Angela. You have been predictably blogging week after week after week. And all that is at, now I'll put this on the screen, it's not hard to spell, unlike your last name. No longer lukewarm.com. How long have you been blogging? I didn't go all the way back.
It's been about a year and a half.
A year and a half. And was it because you and Rachel talked about it and she persuaded you into that?
Actually, it's kind of a funny story how it happened. She and I, we do healthy faith chats on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And so we got to know each other, and she knew that I'm an English teacher, but I like to write, and she encouraged me to start blogging. And I said no. I kept saying, I wouldn't keep up with the blog, and even if I did, who would read it? And I realized on hindsight, those were really just the enemy's lies, because one day I just sort of got this wild hair. I just kept saying no, and then one day I was doing it, and I ended up just putting down some money on a WordPress site, and I got in there, and it was harder than I thought. I had erased my contact button. I turned the background red. It was hideous, and I went to my good friend Rachel, and I said, "Help!" And
you're responsible for this.
And she said, "Well, I can't really help you with the website part, but I'll tell you the person who helped me in Michigan all those years ago." And she said, "I'll give you her phone number." And so she gave me her phone number. We were supposed to talk. And I took one look at the phone number, and I couldn't believe it, because the girl who helped Rachel with her website all those years ago in Michigan now lived in Texas, about 10 minutes away from me.
No way.
It was such a God thing. And so she and I got together that next Saturday at Starbucks, and she put my contact button back, and she erased my hideous red and helped me get set up. And from that moment, I just knew that God was in it.
And at the time that you started this, you said, "I'm on a blog." What are you going to blog about?
Well, I was going to blog about really my testimony, which is that I'm no longer lukewarm. When God found me, that's exactly where I was. And it started out as an outreach of my testimony. And from that time, really, I just each week, because I do blog every Sunday, I put a new one out. And each week I start on Monday. God, what do you want me to talk about? What do you want me to talk about? And I just beg him the whole week. And then hopefully by the end of the week, he'll give me an idea, and I'll pray the whole way through. Is this what you want? Is this what you want? And he helps me. And so I publish after church on Sundays in case the pastor says something that helps me, refine some little part of it.
So I'm going to ask it two ways. What is the earliest time during the week, so it comes out on Sunday. So suppose it came out and immediately you get an inspiration for a new blog. What's the shortest time? And then the other side of that question would be, what is the latest that you've gotten the inspiration and done it and felt like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'll hit the publish button before the stroke of midnight?
It's been as early as the week before. He'll start talking to me about something. And there are some that really take a lot of research. So just, especially when I dig deep into the Old Testament, it'll take several days. So I've gotten them as early as the week before, and I'll start sort of looking at some stuff. But it has been as late as, I'd say, Saturday afternoon.
Saturday afternoon. Okay, well, that's not as bad as... But you've never missed a week, never been late.
No, praise God.
All right, well, let's keep that up, okay? Because I think that's, when I look at it, that just tells me that this person's committed. That's what it tells me. Now, other people that I talk to says, well, you need to be regular so you can build an audience. Well, okay, so we're both right. Your audience expects you to be committed. So, year and a half later, was there one that really stood out and did great, or better than the others, if not great? Actually,
there's one that consistently, virtually every single day, Google will bring a couple people on this one blog. And it's the one that when I think of it, when I'm praying, I say, God, give me another one like that one, because I believe it's reaching people. And that was the 9 reasons why God doesn't hear your prayers. And so I went through biblically to the places in the Bible where it says, God doesn't hear when, this and that. And consistently 2 to 3 people, sometimes up to 10 or 15 will come on a day to look at that one. And that was probably about a year ago, maybe not quite that long.
Okay. So early on you had a pretty good experience. So that's good, because sometimes it's easy to give up. It's like, it's sort of like PJ now. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I'm doing this in obedience. To be honest, I mean, I do want a lot of people to hear and see this. I sincerely do. But I assure you this, if not a single person watches it, I'm going to do it anyway, because that's what God is wanting me to do. And until I hear otherwise from him, this is what I'm going to do. You did something. I went to lukewarm.com because for the longest time let's go over that. Folks, Angela was actually scheduled, originally on a Thursday, I believe. And it kind of slipped up on me, a first-time guest, because we like to do a dry run and make contact and kind of go over what, And I realized, here it is Thursday. She's coming on at 9 p.m. and I have a name. I don't have a phone number. I don't have an email. And I really, really kind of fumbled the football. So I contacted our associate producer, Barbara Byers, Sunbelt Girl on Twitter. I said, Barbara, this one got by me. Here it is Thursday. She says, well, you're not going to believe this. She called a week ago thinking she was on a week ago. And so you were panicked the week before. Yes. I was panicked the week of. And it's really going to happen now, almost a week later. So we're doing it, though. As far as I can tell, this is actually recording. And hopefully it'll go. When I went to lukewarm.com, I saw something that impressed me. And really, you don't see this very often, but one of the things when you go there, folks, there is a video where, Angela, you got in front of a camera, and I'm sure you were completely at ease, and gave your testimony, and it's about 7 or 8 minutes, something like that. Was that hard?
That was so hard. I did not want to do that. And
How many takes did you do, really?
One.
Oh, okay.
I just did it, and I said, "This is God. This is what it is, and here it is." Because I just couldn't bear to go through it again, so I did it one time, and I was crying in the middle, and you can tell that. And I just said, "This is an offering," and that's all it was, because I did not want to do it, but I really, really felt strongly that God wanted me to put that out there.
And was this suggested to you, or did you just spontaneously just come up with it?
I really believe that's what God told me to do. I think he wanted my testimony out there, because I think a lot of people out there are where I was, and they don't even know what they don't know. It's like I didn't.
That's a tough position to be in.
Yeah.
It is. Blogging every week for the better part of a year and a half. Any regrets?
Well, sometimes I haven't been as patient with God as I would like to be. He has done a lot of work on me, teaching me his timing, which is not my timing a lot of the times.
Well, but the timing for the blog is weekly, so...
Right. Right. But, the enemy gets in there, and he says he's not going to give it to you this week. You got it last week and the week before, but he's done. He's done talking to you.
You're in over your head anyway, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's you just might as well quit. And I would get to the point where I'd be like, well, I guess he's not going to give me one. And then it's embarrassing, and it's something that I had to repent about. But he's teaching me little by little, and so many of the blogs they teach me probably as much or more than they teach anybody else. And that's one of the things I love about it.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because there was a time when I wasn't blogging. I was doing the same thing on video. I think that's called vlogging. Mm-hmm. That sounds so terrible. What are you, vlogger? Sounds like you're doing something wrong,
Sounds foreign.
Yeah, sounds like a cuss word maybe, or something. But I'll tell you this, and of course doing these programs is likewise to less of a degree, but still the same. When you are committed, this is my testimony. Tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how you would agree or disagree. When you are committed to producing content on a scheduled, regular, predictable basis, I don't know about you, but when I would finish one, and I know because you're always seeking inspiration, and you're always, you've got that funnel kind of, pointed toward heaven saying, pour something in.
Yes.
So honestly, my testimony is this: if nobody read your blog, do it anyway.
Absolutely.
Because it's going to cause you to grow spiritually just by doing it if nobody ever read it. Right. What's your thoughts?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always looking around at the world and going, is that it? Is that it? No, that's not. Okay, how about that? Is that it? So constantly, seeking God, asking him for wisdom and what I should do next. And I do have a few faithful readers. And one of the things that helps me is I just remember it's not my blog, it's his. He's not going to drop this and run, because it's not really about me. It's about him and the message that he wants to get out to the people who are going to read it. And it took a while to get there, because for a while I was watching the numbers, and I would feel so good when they were big, and I would feel so bad when they were small. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where really it's about him. Yeah. And that's what it has to be.
I try to think of this as like an offering. And you've said that, it's an offering. God, and we've had other guests say similarly, is I do my job, what God does or doesn't do with it, exactly. Up to God. And how do you know? In so many cases on the internet, somebody could have read your blog and been deeply impacted and not committed suicide. How would you know?
Right.
How would you know? Unless they told you.
Until that day when, we find out what our labors have produced for the Lord, and we'll just have to look forward to that day.
So I'm trying to size you up and say, when you and Rachel were talking about this, you were probably not one of the most likely candidates that would have been picked from a large group to say, when you're picking a team, you wouldn't have been in the first round. Is that fair enough to say?
Well, I'm an English teacher, so Words and I have been friends for a long time.
Okay.
But I am pretty new. I mean, my testimony is that really it's been about 8 years that I have been really serving the Lord faithfully. And so I was pretty green, as a teacher in biblical things, I had a lot of catching up to do. So I don't think I was that confident.
Well, the reason I wanted to even bring that up is not to cause you any embarrassment. The reason I wanted to do that was that it's conceivable that someone out there is watching this and hearing what you're saying and what I'm saying, and they've kind of felt a little nudge in their spirit to do something. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you start thinking about that, there's this guy sitting on your shoulder, and he's not your friend,
right? And
he's whispering in your ear, you're not righteous.
Yeah.
You're a sinner.
Yeah.
You can't. You're a hypocrite. You can't do this. You shouldn't do this. Who do you think you are? You're in over your. Do you hear those voices?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what's funny is actually, I have a friend who's very much serving the Lord, and she gets a lot of ideas, and she's a pretty good writer. And when I asked her one time about blogging, she said the words that were practically verbatim what I said to Rachel. The same things about I wouldn't keep up with the blog, who would read a blog if I wrote one. So I think those words are sort of the enemy's typical spiel to somebody who's maybe thinking about something like that. And I told her, I said, those were my exact words. I believe they came from the same place.
Yeah, he's actually got a pretty thin playbook. There's not a lot of pages in it. He just uses them very craftily and with a lot of cunning. Folks, we do want you to visit nolongerlukewarm.com. But while I get your book brought in here, that's a title that I'm sure that wasn't 4th or 5th or even 20th on your list of domain names. Why'd you choose the domain No Longer Lukewarm? Don't tell them too much, though, okay?
Okay, all right. Well, that's my testimony. My testimony, in a nutshell, is that I always believed in God, and even at 12 years old, I asked Jesus into my heart, but I never felt changed. And when I was 41 years old, I really believed God came for me, and he said, "You're lukewarm, get hot, or I'll spit you out." And that's when the fear of the Lord hit me, and I decided that whatever else was in my life, God was going to be number one. And I cleaned out a spare closet at the bottom, put a pillow and a blanket, made an appointment every single night to pray and read the Bible. And when I was thinking about my domain, the two L's together, longer to Luke, kind of seemed to go. And I keyed that into the domain for the website, and it just went. And
yeah.
And there it was.
A lot of domains are 24th on a list of 20, that's all the good names are taken. Well, I went on Amazon.com and discovered this, Anchor Your Soul in Hope. And it's got your name at the bottom of it. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. I'm a teacher, and this past summer, I was praying pretty heavily, God, please give me a summer project. Give me something to do for you. And I had the idea for a devotional. And one day I was sitting at my desk, and I really believe he brought to me, there is a hymn called Anchored in Jesus. I've anchored in Jesus. And I sat there with the hymn and went line by line and found a chapter for each line, and came up with a devotional to really bring people. So many people are afraid right now because of the COVID-19, especially, teachers I know, they're afraid, they're stressed. And so this book really was meant to really strengthen faith and bring people closer to God so they don't have so much fear.
Now, there are actually 2 versions of this book, though, right?
Yes, one is a paperback. That's actually a coloring book. So each week you read the devotional, and then there are prayers, prayer starters and challenges, and a picture to color. That's a ship that, amazingly enough, there's something about each ship that ties into the lesson for that week. And then I have the ebook version too.
Okay. Now, for kids, or would an adult?
No, this is adult coloring.
Adult.
That's a thing.
Okay. I'm an adult. I don't color, but that's okay. I'm probably.
It's actually really relaxing.
I do color, but not the way you think. Anyway, all right. Well, folks, our time is up. In fact, it's a little bit more than up. But Angelo, it is so wonderful that you have responded to the call, and you are obedient to the call, and we are especially grateful that you've shared your testimony with us, folks. Let me put it up here one more time. Her website, I would encourage you to go there and be inspired, especially by the testimonial video. No longer lukewarm.com. Hope you'll visit there. Angela, thanks for sharing, and we hope to see you again and again and again, and then become a part of the PJNet family, for that matter.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on. And I was so nervous, but you helped me feel comfortable. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela. It's so nice of you. Folks, PJNet Live is on the air, and we will be back at the bottom of the hour. In fact, we will be back at the bottom of the hour. And you know what? We've got more and more. And folks, I want to say thank you especially to those of you who join us in the pjnet.tv chat room. Thank you for all those who join us in the world of the internet, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or wherever this is seen. You're very special. So in leaving, I would like to ask two questions that I ask myself. And I almost have to do this daily. I won't say I do it daily, but it's a good exercise. I hope that you'll take the challenge too. Here's the two questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? I hope that isn't a difficult question. But if it's too simple, maybe the second one will get you, which would be, how long ago was that? Never be satisfied with either answer.